Beating the October lull can sometimes be frustrating. It can seems like it actually forces your season to be a little bit longer than expected. Some of your plans that you had, and a lot of that can be created by others. And as we talked before, the October lull is not created by the deer. It has nothing to do with deer movement. It's what has forced the deer to move the way they are. In other words, yes, it has something to do with deer movement because they are forced into doing what they're doing by our wrong steps and neighboring properties, hunting the wrong winds and had them bucks the last week of September going into that first week of October. Everybody wanted to get in there, and they're forcing this October lull. So what can you do? This video is about is what can you do to conquer or to beat the October lull. And I'm here to tell you that the October lull is the start of the good of the upcoming season is what I always try to stress to folks, and I always use as a tool myself, is to remember that your October lull is just when things are starting to get good. So if you can be patient and you can actually try to make sure that your steps that you're doing are the right steps, and if you're experiencing the October lull because of something that someone else has done, then the way to get past that, or the way to beat that, is to be patient and have your setup, such as like your vertical licking branches, or your transition areas, them stands between. Right now, the focus is still on food for most of the herd, including the mature bucks, and they're not yet in that not eating period where they're going to go without that second or third feeding of the day because they're cruising or chasing. So it's still a transition period between bedding and feeding, and it's a great time to take advantage of that. But you have to be able to not wreck that by sitting on the edge of the food plots on a trying to get into those spots on a morning hunt before daylight, bumping the deer off, trying to get in or out of those evening sits on like I said, on an evening sit where the deer are in the food plots and you're bumping them off night after night after night, trying to get out of there. Now, that leads me to a point that I had a gentleman the other day. We were talking. He feels that when he gets out of the stand at night hunting the food plots, that he's not bumping deer because he doesn't. He waits till he doesn't see anything and then he leaves. The thing you got to remember is that's where the staging areas come into effect. If you can't see your staging area, those deer are in those staging areas before they come out into those food plots. So that's why if we do hang a set on a food plot, you'll see that I design and recommend that those are only hunted when it's perfect, when the wind is right, and maybe once a week or once every couple of weeks. It's not a evening set or a morning set, then you turn around an evening set, and that is how you force the October lull. The object is to be the property that does not have the October lull. So if you're not seeing your buck numbers, your mature buck numbers starting to ramp up, stuff starting to show up, and you're not taking advantage of these, you're not starting to show these the advantage of these daylight pictures, you have to take into consideration that something has changed, something has created this October lull. And the more you learn about that, and the more we try to educate people on that, the more you're going to understand that the October lull is created by, like we have said before on future or past videos, that the October lull is created by us, is created by humans. So, like I said, the topic of this is how you beat it, and the answer is to be patient, stay out. Like this week, for example, here in mid-Michigan, in our area, the barometer's low. We have cold temps. but we don't have this huge drop in, let's say, the combination that you need right now is when the winds are, whether it's whether the wind goes from 18, 20 mile an hour to 2 or 3 mile an hour on an evening sit, or morning sit, for example, when it's good and frosty. Unless you have a considerable drop in wind and a low temperature and high barometer, don't booger it up. Do not go in there and force the October lull. And what you'll find is, if you put all these pieces of this puzzle together and you are the property that is not experiencing the October lull, next year you will make it a point to be that property that is their go-to and where they feel comfortable still using the daylight hours. So keep that in mind, and get out there and make sure these scrapes, these preparations are done, and hopefully you can take advantage of some of these daylight pictures that you're hopefully getting, and succeed here going into this week. It's going to be next week, I think, is the week. But if you're experiencing this because like state land, for example, where you're not the only one hunting the area, I've got 2 or 3 of those sets right now that it's been overrun, and I'm just letting them cook. So be that guy, be that property, and it'll all come together, and your success rate will go up. So thanks, guys.